Alright, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The reason I haven't made a video in a while is because I'm scared. No, that's not the reason. So I've been saving every movie ticket I get for about this long. I was talking to a friend who does the same thing, except after he sees the movie, he goes into the notes section of his iPhone and, like, gives the movie a score. So I thought it could be fun to write a score out of 10 right after I see the movie on the movie ticket. And so far, I've been very disappointed with what I've seen in 2013, so I think it would be a good idea for you and me to rate them together. So, kicking us off in 2013 is Mama. Funny story, me and my friend actually went to the movies that day to see something else, but he didn't have a driver's license or a student ID or anything, so we had to see this PG-13 horror movie. Mama is a movie about two little girls, sisters, who are raised in the wilderness by a ghost. I have two problems with this movie that sort of ruin the whole thing. In most horror movies that deal with a monster or a ghost or a mutant of some sort, there's a general rule of thumb that you don't show the monster, at least not until the end of the movie, for most horror movies. And the reason for that is because if you can't see the monster, then your brain is just going to naturally imagine the scariest thing you can think of for you. And no puppet or robot or CG monster can really match whatever your brain can come up with. It's like the boggart of filmmaking. And Mama's about a ghost, and for the first half of the movie, really, you don't see her at all. Which is cool, because again, she's scarier when you don't see her. But then for some reason, at about the halfway mark, you get a full 5-second still shot of Mama, and you're just like, oh, it's a cartoon ghost, real scary. And then there's no longer any feeling of tension or fear for the rest of the movie. So that kind of ruins the horror aspect. My second problem with Mama is that the focus of the movie is on Mama, the ghost. In the beginning of the movie, you see these two little girls, and then they get trapped in the woods, and then it skips to a few years ahead, and they become like primal animals. It's really cool. And they're little kids, so they don't really know how to talk or act like people. All they know is this sort of wilderness that they've grown up in. So you're thinking like, oh cool, it's gonna be about these little wolf children integrating into society and the problems and stuff with that. It's gonna be awesome. But once this guy finds the little girls in the woods, it skips to like 3 years ahead after a bunch of therapy and stuff. It seems to me that you didn't even really need to have the ghost aspect in this movie. You could have just had a movie about two little girls who grew up in the wilderness integrating into society, and I would have enjoyed that just as much. So Mama, 4 out of 10. Okay, next on the list is Gangster Squad. Gangster Squad was directed by Ruben Fleischer, whatever. This is his third major, motion picture. His first being Zombieland and his second being 30 Minutes or Less. Now, I love Zombieland. Like, it's one of my favorite movies, okay? So when 30 Minutes or Less came out, I was really excited for it, and then I saw it and I was like, it's funny, but I wouldn't really see it again. It didn't blow me away like Zealand. So once I heard Gangster Squad was being directed by Ruben, I got really excited. I was like, oh man, it's got all these awesome people in it, and it's a different genre, so maybe he'll really hit home in a new genre. The movie's about a bunch of cops in 1940s Los Angeles, and there's this huge mob boss named Mickey Cohen, who's played by Sean Penn, who's just sort of taking over the land, So Ryan Gosling and the T-1000 and a couple of other LA cops form like a team, and they throw out cop rules, and they're just gonna go take this guy down. When I was going into Gangster Squad, I thought it was gonna be about a bunch of guys who had all been wronged by Mickey Cohen in different ways, and then they decided to team up to take him down out of, like, revenge and stuff. But it turns out it's not really like that at all. They all decide to go after this guy because their captain tells them to. Now, Mickey Cohen is a really, really bad guy. The first shot in the movie is him tearing a guy in half. And all these cops know this. They know that if they go after this guy and they get caught, he will kill their families and do horrible things. And throughout the movie, I just kept thinking, wow, these guys are really irresponsible to go after this mob boss. It's not like they have nothing to lose or anything. Like, Josh Brolin has a pregnant wife who needs him. Ryan Gosling has a girlfriend, this other guy has a wife and 2 kids. Josh Brolin's like the leader of this little group, and before he sort of sets out to accomplish this mission, his wife comes up to him and tells him, like, hey, we have a baby on the way. You can't go out fighting bad guys, that's irresponsible, I need you here. And I thought she was totally right. Again, none of these guys had anything personally against Mickey Cohen. Like, I know, they establish him in the movie as a really horrible guy, but he's not affecting any of their lives, so they'd have no reason to risk it all to take him down. One of them does sort of need to be talked into joining this group for a little bit, but it's only like 5 minutes of the movie, and then it's just sort of dropped. And I think I'm the only person in the universe that thought this, but Ryan Gosling's voice in Gangster Squad was really hilarious. He didn't sound like Ryan Gosling, he sounded like someone doing an impression of Ryan Gosling. Go home, come on, go home, I give you $1, you go home, you promise? Whatever, nitpicking. Anyways, one of the first trailers for Gangster Squad showed a scene where the entire team shot up a movie theater, presumably full of, bad guys or something, and it was apparently a really important scene, but it was actually cut from the movie because of the tragedy that happened during the Dark Knight Rises premiere a few months ago. So they had to do some rewrites and some reshoots and some re-edits and all sorts of stuff, and that's probably a contributing reason as to why Gangster Squad's not as good as it could have been. Gangster Squad, 5 out of 10. Okay, this one came out in 2012, but I saw it in 2013, so we're going to talk about it. And I'm probably going to get some heat for this, but I was not blown away by Django Unchained. Now, I'm a big fan of Quentin Tarantino, so I was really looking forward to this movie, and for the first, like, 2/3, I really liked it. That whole time, I was like, oh, this is so Tarantino, this is exactly what I wanted. But then towards the end, like the last third, I feel like it completely falls apart. It's at that point that it stops feeling like a Tarantino movie and starts feeling more like a mean-spirited parody of a Tarantino movie. Towards the end, Jamie Foxx is just killing, like, everything, and there's blood exploding everywhere, and he's murdering all these people, a lot of people that don't even deserve to be murdered, and then you start to feel how long the movie is. It's a long movie, but you don't even realize it until, like, that last third when stupid stuff starts to happen. And so because of that, I feel like if Django was 20-25 minutes shorter, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. So Django did sort of leave a bad taste in my mouth when I walked out of the theater. Regardless, I still realize that most of the movie is really, really awesome and hilarious and cool. So for that, 7 out of 10. Next up, Warm Bodies. Now, I was never looking forward to Warm Bodies, but I was never, like, against it. When I saw the first trailer, I was just sort of interested. I looked at it and I said, this could either be really smart and clever and funny, or just terrible. And after seeing the movie, I feel like it's in between those two options, but, like, you know, curving towards terrible. Like, it's not even a long movie, but it feels really long, because it's not that funny, and it's not that interesting. After I saw the movie, I was talking about it to a friend who really likes the book, and it looks like for the movie, they just sort of scrapped 50% of the book and wrote new things in, so I guess I'd suggest that you read the book. It's just a really generic, semi-entertaining movie, so we'll give it a 5. How about? Alright. A Good Day to Die Hard. I really like Die Hard, and after I got home from seeing this movie, I had to watch the original Die Hard again to remind myself of why I like it. After seeing the trailers, I thought A Good Day to Die Hard looked awesome. I walked into the movie theater a few days ago, and I wanted to see one thing. John McClane and his son just killing everything. And John McClane and his son do kill everything in the movie, but it's not nearly as entertaining as I wanted it to be. I wanted him and his son to always have, like, an angry banter with each other, you know, a back and forth, and it's there for, like, 5 minutes. The rest of the movie is just his son being annoying and whiny, and John McClane, you know, doing his John McClane-y things. It just feels more like generic action movie than it feels like Die Hard. If it was like a generic average action movie, then I'd give it a 5, but because it's Die Hard, I feel like we should bump it down a point, so, you know, 4. I mean, I guess it's not a big deal that Die Hard 5 kind of sucks. There have been worse Die Hard movies, but, you know, I still absolutely want there to be a 6th installment someday. Bring back Ramona Flowers and Justin Long, call it Old Habits Die Hard. And last but not least, Side Effects. Yeah, this movie was actually pretty good. 8. So that's all the movies that I have seen in 2013 thus far, and I gotta say, I am disappointed. Ed.